Good morning, everyone. This is fantastic for the people of the City of New London. We are so appreciative to have this much support behind us. I wish we were all here under better circumstances, but New London always punches above its weight. And with all of this support and all of the support behind me, we intend to overcome this challenge and get this project back underway, work out the issues that have been brought up. I want to thank especially the building trades that are behind me, the workers that are making this happen. We've been so proud in the City of New London to be part of this great effort to build a 21st century energy economy, a green economy, to decarbonize our city, our state, the country, and the planet. New London's been proud to be on the cutting edge of that. We have built great partnerships with Ørsted, with the Connecticut Port Authority, with Eversource, with Gateway Terminals. We've benefited from an incredible investment by the state of Connecticut. Thank you, Governor. Thank you so much for supporting the construction of this great facility to support the offshore wind industry. It's created jobs, and it's created a future for our families. And thank you to the federal delegation for their work in Washington. We will overcome this challenge. This great facility, this great project will, God willing, be back underway quickly, and we'll put our folks back to work. Thank you so much. And I'm kicking it over to the Commissioner of DEP, Katie Dykes.
Thank you so much, Mayor Passero, and appreciate all of your leadership and support here and from everyone in New London who's been part of this offshore wind journey. My name is Katie Dykes. I'm the Commissioner at the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. We're here today because late Friday afternoon, the Department of Interior's Bureau of Ocean Energy Management issued a director's order halting all ongoing offshore activities for the Revolution Wind project. And the order cites a variety of concerns, including national security interests and interference with reasonable use of U.S. waters, as we seek to better understand what precipitated this and what's next in terms of the administration's actions and concerns here. We're here to provide information. We're beginning, obviously, a lot of questions about what this means and what the consequences, what the impacts are for this project, and what this project is contributing to the economy and to our electric grid. And so that's what we're here today, is to provide some answers to those questions. This is a project that is fully permitted. It's a 700 megawatt offshore wind project that we believe is contributing very importantly to maintaining the reliability and affordability of energy costs here in New England. This project is 80% constructed. There's billions of dollars that have gone into this investment, a 9-year permitting process that resulted in this project moving forward. So it's been very thoroughly vetted across 2 administrations to get us to the point where it is today, where there's work going on in the water. Importantly, this is a project that has commitments to the ISO New England to have this project delivering power to residents and businesses, not just here in Connecticut and Rhode Island, which are the 2 states that signed the contracts in 2018 and 19 that have backstopped the investment to get this project moving forward. But this is power that's going to be delivered to keep the lights on for businesses and residents all across New England. The ISO New England released a statement this morning identifying their concern if this project should be permanently interrupted about the impacts to grid reliability, as they've been counting on this resource to be delivering power in the second half of next year. This is a project that will supply the equivalent of 2.5% of the energy needed in New England next year. and there are no identifiable substitutes for that energy supply should it be interrupted. New England has been in decent shape in terms of being able to weather some of the grid reliability risks that are plaguing regions all across the country. Right now, we are in an elevated risk of outages should we experience, heat waves or extreme winter weather that could stress our grid. And offshore wind is a really important resource that helps to keep the lights on in exactly those types of peak energy periods. Should this project be interrupted, we will have an elevated risk of rolling blackouts impacting our region as a result of this. So there's a lot of concern from the regional grid operator and from others about reliability impacts. In addition, we need to speak to what the costs will be on the impacts to utility bills for our customers, not just in Connecticut, but across the region. We would have to seek alternative, pay for some kind of alternative capacity if it were available to replace this 700 megawatts. We know that could precipitate a big increase in supply charges. This project on its own, moving forward, is expected to provide about $150 to $200 million of benefits for Connecticut ratepayers over the lifetime of the contract. That we hope to continue to be able to realize those benefits if we can address whatever the concerns are that may be precipitated the stop work order. We know that there's, the Trump administration has called in its energy dominance agenda for unleashing domestic energy sources. And I can't think of a source that's closer to home for us here in New England. This is a project being built just 32 miles from where we stand here, 15 miles off of the coast of Rhode Island. This wind resource for New England is one of the most powerful sources of domestic energy that we have available, and supporting local jobs, but also jobs all across the country. When you look at supply chain, from boat building in Louisiana, we have suppliers all across, in South Carolina and elsewhere, in addition to those in New York and Rhode Island and Connecticut that have been part of delivering the supply chain. We know you'll hear more about the jobs here at the port and 1,200 jobs, direct and indirect construction jobs associated with the Revolution Wind project. So there's a lot at stake. As we have been with Governor Lamont's leadership, working with the administration and with our sister states around an all of the above energy future, looking at things like natural gas and gas pipelines and a whole complement of different energy sources that can help us keep costs down and keep the grid reliable. We know that some of those resources will take some years to develop. The combined cycle gas power plants, right now there's a 7-year backlog for the components to build new gas power plants. But this is a resource that's available to turn on next year, and that it's already 80% constructed. And so we think that this is has to remain a really important part of growing our all domestic energy sources to meet the supply we need to support our energy future and our energy competitiveness. So I know you'll hear from many folks who will be speaking to the importance of this project today. I want to first welcome Senator Blumenthal to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner, for your leadership. Thank you to the Governor and all my colleagues. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. This picture is worth 1,000 words. We are united. We are united. And the Trump administration has succeeded in doing what nobody thought was possible. It has brought together the utilities, the consumer advocates, labor, politicians of all stripes, state, federal, and local. We are united because this action is, I'm going to use a 4-letter word, nuts. It is nuts, crazy, insane to stop a project that is 80% completed and will save hundreds of millions of dollars for consumers. In fact, canceling it will drive electricity prices higher. It is vital to our energy independence and therefore our national security. And it is critical to hundreds of skilled jobs. This project is a win-win-win. This Trump administration action is a lose-lose-lose. And it is also, since I'm the only former Attorney General here, I can say with some authority, it is also blatantly illegal, lawless, and reckless for the administration to cancel a project that has been fully approved by all the relevant agencies on secret information at this point in its near completion will be successfully challenged in the courts. The administration will lose if there is a legal challenge. But in the meantime, consumers will lose. The people of Connecticut will lose because the project will be stopped. And that is the result of an administration stance on wind power that is truly reckless and irrational. The president said that wind power is, and I'm quoting, the scam of the century. That is the fact-based reason for this decision, namely fact-free. Empire Wind in New York, similarly canceled, will be challenged. The president seems to be canceling these projects simply out of vengeance and vanity. And I call on the administration to reveal whatever reports there are. They say there's a report by NOAA that justifies canceling Empire Wind. They say there are national security interests here. Come clean. Reveal them. And if you can't do it in public, give us a briefing in private. We have top secret clearance. They have offered no fact to justify this lawless, reckless decision, and there is almost certainly no fact to justify it. So we're going to continue this fight as long and hard as necessary because there's so much riding on it. Consumer interests, worker interests, as well as our national security interests. If you want to talk about national security, talk about energy independence, which wind power helps to give us. And that is why we need to stand strong and insist that this administration stop its secret, lawless action that has no basis in the public interest. Release whatever the information is that you think justifies this action. So I'm proud to stand here with colleagues, with workers, and let me just finish on this point, proud to stand here with great unions who are fighting hard for the workers of Connecticut. Thank you for standing strong. All of the organized labor who is here today, thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. I'd next like to welcome to say a few words Senator Chris Murphy.
Great. Thanks, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. Let me just add my gratitude to the individuals, organizations, state agencies that have gotten us this far. This is a visionary project. This is a project that required everyone from our utility to state regulators, to federal regulators, to local leadership to see the transformational power of a wind project of this size and scope. This was a decision by Connecticut and Rhode Island to lead not just the country but the world in showing the ability of us to harness the power of the wind to be able to lower costs for our residents and provide a clean energy future for our country. I'm super proud of this state. I'm super proud of the people behind me. I'm proud of the workers who are doing hard, often dangerous work to build these machines and to anchor them to the sea floor. This is a project that will go down in history when it is finished. But listen, I'm just going to speak for myself here. I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to pretend that this decision was on the level. It wasn't. This isn't about national security. This isn't about some secret study at NOAA. This is a decision about politics. The President of the United States has pledged his loyalty to the oil and gas industry, plain and simple. In the big, beautiful bill that he shepherded through Congress just a few months ago, there's $190 billion of tax breaks and direct subsidies to the oil industry. A withdrawal, a devastation, a destruction of help and tax credits and subsidies for renewable energy. Right? This president is committed to destroying renewable energy and to powering this country only on oil and gas to please and help his friends. So I'm not going to pretend that this decision is on the level. It's not. And that's why we'll ultimately likely prevail, because the law is on our side. This is a fully permitted project. But the bottom line for people here in Connecticut is also pretty simple. If this project doesn't get started again, costs are going up. Already under Donald Trump, energy costs in this country for consumers have gone up by 10%. His tariffs are driving costs up. His signaling of an end to support for renewable energy projects is driving costs up. And the estimates are that if we don't get these projects online and that big, beautiful bill is fully implemented, consumers are going to see another huge increase in energy costs next year because of Donald Trump's policies, probably over $100 on top of the 10% that they're already paying. This is a project that lowers costs. I know that it gets a lot of attention because it's going to help us maintain and build on our commitment to making sure that our kids don't suffocate in a world that is transformed by climate change. But this is really about keeping costs down. So this decision isn't about national security. This is just a political decision by the president to help his friends in the oil and gas industry. That's why we'll win in court, I believe. That's why we'll get this project back started again. But ultimately, the message here is simple. We have to get the Empire project back online. We have to get this project back online. That's the path to stabilizing costs. And that's why the vision that the people behind me had was so important. It wasn't just about that clean energy future. It was about making sure that we have control over our energy future. We don't want to be held hostage by energy sources outside of this country. We can stabilize prices. We can control prices by producing energy here in America, by producing energy here in New England. And this is our path to do it. So once again, we are a team. Dick is right. We're going to work hand in glove at the federal and the state and the local level to fight this political, corrupt decision that was made on Friday. We're going to get these turbines out in the water. We're going to keep costs stable for the people of Connecticut. We're going to do right by the workers, the leaders, and the regulators here in Connecticut and Rhode Island who have had that vision. Thanks a lot for everybody being here today.
Thank you, Senator. Next, I'd like to introduce Executive Director for the Connecticut Port Authority, Mike O'Connor. Say a few words.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm pretty impressed with the awesome team that's been built to counter the notification to halt the work. But I do want to recognize the substantial piece of infrastructure we're standing on. If you were here 3 or 4 years ago, it did not look like this. And if you take a look at the components that were standing there when an 11 megawatt generator that's behind the crowd weighs 600 tons or 1,200,000 pounds, and you need a facility of this substance to handle those pieces of equipment to come in from overseas, get staged, prepped, and go back out on barges to the wind lease area. A better job wasn't done for this State Pier to be able to do this and many other things over time. And the workforce behind me had a big role in building it and operating it, and it's doing a great job. The other thing I'd like to say about the workforce is when you're moving components that weigh this much and you're taking pieces of equipment off of the ocean and putting them back on the ocean, this team has done it safely for the entire duration of the project. Movement of the components on site, lifting and stacking them, connecting them together, and ultimately putting them into the water without any injuries, without any equipment damage, and safely is what the men and women behind me do every day. I appreciate their effort. And there's lots of jobs here. Some days there's a small number of people here keeping the place ready for the next delivery. A lot of times there's hundreds of people here prefabbing components and getting things ready to discharge back out to sea in the wind lease area. All of them vital jobs to the work that we've been talking about. It's our job to support them, to make sure they have the equipment, the tools, the knowledge, and the skill to do their work safely and continue that on while everything else gets figured out. Already we've had over 50 ships deliver components here to the State Pier. We talked earlier about the 45 turbines that are installed right now and the balance of the 65 turbines ready to go. So I appreciate everybody's help in this matter. Thanks.
I'm going to next welcome Joe Nolan, the CEO and president of Eversource. And just before he speaks, I just wanted to also note we've gotten a lot of questions about whether we have concerns or share concerns that offshore wind is not a good resource because it's not baseload. And it's important to know that offshore wind actually, and this is based on the South Fork project that just turned on just recently, has a capacity factor of about 53%, which is on par with the national average for gas power plants, and better than most of the coal fleet in the U.S. So again, this is not about one resource versus another, but recognize the importance of having a diversity of different resources in your portfolio to help support reliability. Another question that's come up is, isn't offshore wind really expensive? And while we've had challenges with less mature projects recently in terms of some of the pricing, this is a project that we signed contracts in 2018 and 2019 before the pandemic, before a lot of the macroeconomic challenges were impacting, and the price is $99 per megawatt hour. So that puts it in a competitive position relative to other renewable projects. When you think that the levelized price of new combined cycle gas units is near $80 per megawatt hour, it's just important to keep these things in mind. Again, not playing one off of the other, but recognizing the value and importance of all these resources, domestic resources that play when they can serve our ratepayers together. With that, I want to introduce my friend Joe Nolan.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you all for coming today. I'm Joe Nolan from Eversource. We're very, very proud of the role that we play in offshore wind, and I will tell you that I'm very proud of the work that Governor Lamont has done, and Mayor Passero. We came here to this site, I don't even know, I want to say 5, 6, 7 years ago, and we transformed this site, and these labor unions behind us, these workers, came together with us and partnered with us with local and the federal officials, and we were able to build from this port the first offshore wind farm in the United States. And we should be very proud of that and all the hard work back there. So thank you. That is a tremendous feat. This port is a very unique port. We have extraordinary work that comes out of here. Every time I come here, I get more and more impressed. But it's because of the leadership of the governor, of the mayor, of our federal delegation, and all the local officials that opened their arms to welcome this opportunity for the folks of Connecticut. We've been in touch, the governor and I have been in touch also with the governor in Rhode Island. And I think it's important to note, they have multiple ports in Rhode Island that are underway with workers and tremendous work. Eversource's role in this is to construct the onshore infrastructure that allows the injection of energy. We like to say that we're really agnostic. We will take any energy source, we'll bring it into the New England region. But I will tell you, this 704 megawatt project is critical for New England. It was due next year in 2026. We were on target to get there, and we just hope that we can continue to finish the job and we get all of the men and women behind me back out on the ocean so that we can construct. And I want to thank everybody for coming here today, and we feel confident that we'll be able to work through some of these challenges and address any of the issues that have taken place so that the people of New England will have a good, solid energy resource available to them in 2026. So thank you very much.
And as we know, delivering on reliable energy sources and an affordable grid means partnering with labor to construct these important pieces of infrastructure. And I next want to welcome Keith Brothers to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Good morning. So when the phone started ringing Friday, and we got some of that bad news, everybody was calling me about jobs. And we're hearing that job theme today. So I just want to let everybody know what type of jobs we're talking about. Ever since the governor had the vision of State Pier, these jobs and these projects have been built with project labor agreements, which means everybody on this job has a zip code from Connecticut. It's local people, it's local hiring, there's local apprentices, local training, and those jobs are prevailing wage rates. They have a health component, benefit component, a retirement component, and some type of a 401k and annuity component. So these are head of household jobs that pay that type of a wage. So the building trades, really, we're stakeholders. We understand what happens when things slow down or things stop, and sometimes that has to happen. But in this case, our message from the building trades is, let us finish what we started. Let us finish what we started onshore, and let us finish what we've started offshore. And if you look behind me at what we've been doing here, this isn't work that anybody can do. This isn't work that you learn on a weekend or on a 30-hour course or something you do at a tech school. The men and women behind me, the union iron workers, the union operating engineers, the union painters, the union laborers, the union IBW members, those are the horsepower of this project. That's how things get done. That's how things get done. And Governor, we want to thank you from inception of this project. You've put us front and center to do this work. Mayor Passero is the mayor of the host city of New London. We also want to thank you, the delegation behind me. Everybody has been on board with what I just mentioned. Local hiring, local apprenticeship, local training. We've taken people from the military and placed them on jobs on this specific site. That's important. That's important. So job numbers, I just want to mention a couple numbers that people may not realize. Since the inception of offshore wind and onshore wind, we've built 10 vessels in the U.S. That's about 150,000 jobs and over 1 million man-hours with the shipbuilding industry. It's a big number. It's a huge, huge number for an industry that I don't represent in the building trades, but it's something that trickles down and also is affected by what we're doing here. Offshore, also building trades members working offshore, those are about 1 million man-hours on those vessels that we've accrued so far, 1 million man-hours. Now, an average construction worker works 2,000 hours a year, so I'll let you do that math on your own. 2,000 into 1 million is the amount of jobs that offshore wind has produced already. In onshore, we're looking at 2 million man-hours to date, with the Connecticut project and my brothers and sisters in Rhode Island, what they're doing. So 2 million man-hours again, with rev only now, divided by 2,000 man-hours, that's your number for jobs. That is serious, serious job creation. And we have to thank the people behind us, other people in Rhode Island, and the men and women I represent my organization in the building trades. So again, I'll close with this. Let us finish what we started. Let us go back to work. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Governor Lamont.
Pick up where Keith left off. Let us get back to work. Look at these guys. Look at what they've been able to accomplish right here. Let's get these turbines spinning. They're all scheduled to go next year. That's going to bring down the price of electricity for each and every one of you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you, the men and women of the trades. You're looking out for us. We're looking out for you. Look, I was shocked by this decision. We've had a lot of conversations down in Washington, D.C. I talked about this with the President and the Secretary of Energy and the Secretary of Interior. And we don't agree on everything, but there was a strong sense that we wanted more American-based power. We wanted power that was going to be affordable, would bring down costs for consumers, especially here in New England where we have relatively high prices. We knew that reliability was an issue. We knew that as demand continues to go up for electricity, because our manufacturing is coming back, because people are plugging things in, we need more generation capacity. And as Katie Dyke said, this could turn on next year. This could make an enormous difference. You say, what is 2.5%? Why is that such a big deal? It's that incremental 2.5%. It's those spiking costs that drive up your electricity bills. When things spike on a hot day in July or a cold day in January, the price of electricity goes up 5, 10, 20 times. When Putin invades Ukraine, it goes up 40 times because of what happens to natural gas. These are a fixed price contracted over the next 20 years that you can count upon that brings affordable electricity for each and every one of you, guarantees our reliability, at least for the near term, until we get other energy sources up and going forward. And this is less important to the president, but it's, I think, important to all of us. It's green power and what a difference that's going to make in a region like ours. So look, we're going to get this over the finish line, Keith. We're having those conversations right now. I think a lot of people were surprised by how sudden this decision was out of Washington, D.C., and we're going to sit down and get this done. If they had some issues they wanted to discuss, let's discuss them. Don't shut down work and go on vacation and say we'll discuss it later. And that's sort of where we are right now. But we're going to be sitting down and we're going to be having these conversations. I feel very confident that this is such a dumb decision, it's going to get fixed. You know, the president wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. You should have a sequel. It's called The Deal is a Deal. And this is a deal that was made with all different facets of state, local, and federal government going back some years. Joe Courtney, our congressman, working very hard with the Coast Guard and the Fisher, make sure that we had all these taken care of. As Chris Murphy said, all this stuff about national security is hogwash. That was all looked at very strictly many years ago. This is a deal that's been done. It's a deal. We're in the 8th inning of this baseball game. Let's go win it for the people of Connecticut. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Governor. And with that, happy to take some questions.
Governor, could you talk more about the conversations either that you are having or plan to have with the Trump administration around this?
I don't think so, except for the fact that we've had some preliminary conversations. I think some of the key facets of the federal government were taken by surprise by this decision as well. So we're trying to get all the players together, but I've talked to almost everybody.
And so what is your kind of optimism level that they would reverse course on this?
It's a close one. You never quite know with this administration, but I think there's a deal to be had. And I got to see what the ask is. I have no idea what the ask is. I knew what it was for, Kathy Hochul down in New York. Remember, they shut down Empire Wind, and there were some negotiations, and they got Empire Wind going again. I think we're going to get this going again as well.
And what's Plan B if they say, no way, we're sticking to this decision?
I think we have a former Attorney General, a current Attorney General. We have Avangrid. We have others who are ready to step up and exercise our legal rights. We're not there yet. Let's sit down and get this thing done.
When Empire Wind was shuttered and this early resumed work, it was reported at the time that part of that deal had to do with New York approving permits for the Constitution pipeline. Have you gotten any indication that that pipeline or other pipelines are part of this effort to negotiate? And have you spoken with Governor Hochul since the decision came down Friday?
I think you're right that natural gas was key to getting Empire Wind going again. We're already having very productive conversations with Williams, the pipeline company, and Secretary of Energy and Interior regarding how we can get additional sources of power here to this region, including American natural gas. So I don't think there's a conflict there, but we got to move forward.
Have you spoken to Governor Hochul since Friday?
I have. Yeah.
Governor, can you give us a sense of the cost to Connecticut? The Commissioner touched upon, obviously, the amount of money that has been invested, obviously, by various people. We know how much, obviously, State Pier has cost. Is there a sense, because people will be concerned, the taxpayers, as to, how much is this ultimately costing them?
You've stopped this down. You've got leases on the installation vehicles. You've got jobs that are at risk. You've got loans that are outstanding. This is probably adding millions of dollars a week, millions of dollars a day to the cost of this project. That's why it's so insane they stop it before discussion. Let's sit down and talk about it.
Do you also have concerns about Sunrise Wind? Because Sunrise Wind is supposed to be the next one that obviously comes here. That's also an Ørsted project. If obviously this one does continue, then Sunrise Wind is even bigger. What concerns do you have that the Trump administration might then step on that one as well?
Well, it's very erratic and inconsistent what comes out of Washington, D.C. Why they chose Revolution Wind, which is already in the 8th inning and almost done and has $4 billion invested, is insane to me. Obviously, Sunrise is next up. There's already been money spent, invested there. My understanding from the folks I talked to in Washington is any project that had begun, they were not going to interrupt. Maybe they weren't going to do any wind power going forward. They were going to cut back on subsidies for projects that have not yet been approved. I can maybe understand that, but the idea of shutting this down in the 8th inning is insane.
You said that this happened without other facets of the federal government. Now, what are you saying? Are you saying Secretary Burgum didn't know about this? This was coming from the White House? What do you mean when you say that?
I don't want to get specific, except to say I talked to all the key players, and many of them did not know this was coming, had not been thoroughly discussed, had not been thoroughly vetted, and that goes right into the White House.
To John's point about leverage and deals here, do you have any sense what the administration wants, if anything, from either Connecticut or Rhode Island? Is this energy related? Is this related to some other social or a political issue that they have to take issue with Connecticut on?
I have no idea. I have none. I mean, we know what it was in New York, more or less. We're in a very different circumstance here in Connecticut and Rhode Island and New England. I've certainly talked to Dan McKee. He's doing an event very similar to this in Rhode Island. I've talked to Maura Healey. This is an ISO region. This benefits the entire New England region, and I think we're standing together.
Senator Murphy, can you weigh in on that? You've spoken a lot about your interpretation of this administration's action when it comes to getting concessions from companies, from governments. Do you see that happening right now?
Well, the President of the United States doesn't have the legal authority to suspend a project that's permitted and then use it as a leverage point on some unrelated grievance he has with a democratic state. So, the President doesn't have the ability to say, this project is legal, it complies with the statutes, it's permitted, but I'm not going to let you move forward because I want you to give me help on a totally unrelated political imperative of the White House. That's not how the United States of America works. And so I think you heard Governor Lamont. Listen, we don't know whether the White House wants anything or is willing to enter into any discussions. But let's not concede that would even be a normal legal playing field. The statutes are written very clearly that if you comply with the statutory and regulatory framework for putting wind turbines out into the ocean, you have a binding contract to put that power on the grid, you can move forward with that program. You don't have to pledge political loyalty to the President of the United States in order to build wind power in this country. And I just think we all have to be really careful about doing trades with this president that could send this country, down a really dangerous anti-democratic rabbit hole.
Let me just add one point. Not only does Ørsted and others have a vested property interest here because they have spent money in reliance on that approval, but if the motive is improper, there can be law breaking by the officials who have made that decision. I think the Inspector General of the Department of Interior and the Department of Energy ought to be all over this decision, looking into how it was made, who made it, and who should be held accountable if laws were broken. And if there was the kind of corruption that we think, namely the fossil fuel industry exerting its weight, then there ought to be accountability. Those officials ought to be held accountable. Wouldn't be unprecedented, because if they broke the law by reversing this decision, there ought to be legal responsibility as well as accountability.
Senator, there are lawsuits pending by non-profits, two from Rhode Island, exactly pointing out that about BOEM and their decision making. Can you talk to us more about that? Because there are court cases, people are questioning that.
The facts here will be sorted out probably in court, but there is a lot of reason to believe there's been law breaking by federal officials in this decision. The sudden, inexplicable reversal based on secret, concealed information certainly threatens the credibility of these officials. And the interests here, the private interests, the nonprofits, as well as the workers, have rights of action here. We're still a country of laws. And the accountability should go to the very top of the chain of command who made this decision.
Has anyone spoken to Orsted at all about this? Because I don't see any representative from Orsted here today, which seems odd.
Well, there ought to be accountability. That's very simply it. There ought to be accountability, and at some point, my hope is there will be accountability.
Is there anyone from Orsted who could talk about how work may or may not be progressing? Are there jobs onshore that people can be doing in the meantime, or?
I've had preliminary conversations with Orsted. They're looking at all the legal ramifications of this, hoping we can reach an agreement sooner rather than later and get everybody back to work.
So what is the status of these workers right now? Are they...
So the crew's working today. There is no layoff slip coming any time in the near future. So this full crew in New London is working today, and that's going to be till the end of the week, till the end of next. We haven't heard when that's going to start or stop.
Had any conversations with Orsted or with Mr. Nolan about how long can this project be idled? It's already strained financially, but how long can it be idled before it becomes untenable for the companies that have invested?
I talk to everybody. That's what I do for a living. And look, every day costs us money. Every day costs these guys jobs. Every day will cost the price of electricity will go up. So obviously we want to settle this as quickly as we can. I got to tell you, we are all aligned on this, and hopefully we can reach some agreement pretty soon down in Washington.
In like a, I guess, your perspective, worst case scenario, would it be possible to let this sit for 4 years until there's a new president and then try again?
That's the worst idea I've heard all day.
And I think that might be our last question, but we can take some other. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Thank you, everybody.